Good morning, everybody, or evening, depending where you are in the world. We are live again from the Circle Leadership Headquarters studio here in Perth, West Australia. And today we are talking about values. Very excited to start off Values Month, I think, because we're probably about 3 or 4 weeks in a row. We're going to do a whole bunch of information around values. So let's get started. So last sessions we were talking all about purpose and why our business exists, the problem we're here to passionately solve in the world for the people that we choose to do that for. Now it's all about values, and the reason why we followed on this with values for a multitude of reasons. So the first thing is values are the second decision-making filter for your organization. So as we talked about last week, so purpose is the first decision-making filter. It's the seed of culture. Does it fit with our purpose? Yes or no? Will it help us serve it? Yes or no? If not, it's out. The second decision-making filter that you and your team have are your values. And they are there to empower us to make smarter decisions. So this is why values is following on. Secondly, for us, values is a really important thing. And it's this one thing that most people understand what values are, whereas purpose and mission and vision can all be interchanged in people's minds. But what we find when working with people with values is that there's a few things that everyone seems to do the same, but it doesn't end up working out well for the organization for a couple of points. So firstly, the more commonplace your values are, the more unbelievable they are. So the less believable they are. So the more commonplace your values are, the less believable they are. Did you know that 55% of all Fortune 500, I think it is, companies have the same values? All right. You would have seen in the beginning to this live stream that I had a picture up there, and it said, Simon Sinek has very much popularized something we've all known for a very long time. That is, people buy why you do what you do. But what we truly believe, are your values are why they buy it from you. So yes, people may buy why you do what you do, but your values are why they buy it from you. So if your values are much the same as everybody else's, then there's nothing unique about you. Everybody's out there trying to find a unique value proposition, when you really should just embrace and embody your own unique values proposition that you have. Now, please understand with that we're a firm believer that your values are already there in your organization, most likely. Now, they might be covered up with gunk. They may not be crystallized as clear as possible, but you don't need to create a set of values for your business. You might need to craft or uncover or discover or put a label to what you've always been doing in your organization, the unique way you've always thought about doing business for yourselves in the way that you want to serve that purpose in the world. So a couple things we want to cover today is, firstly, your values are your code of chivalry. They're your code of ethics for your business. In the coming weeks, we're going to talk about more in depth about the types of values and why you shouldn't have certain ones. But just as a premise of that, or the preface that right now, please understand that your values already exist in your business. Very confident. Now, whether you're leading, living them, and loving them at the highest level, whether you've been able to bottle that magic perfectly or label it and get the potion right, yes, there might be a lot of work to do in that space. But I guarantee that when you dig deep enough, there is a uniqueness to the way that you think about the problem that you're passionate about solving in the world. So we want to make sure that we have values in our organization. We want to make sure that we're very clear on, here's how we think around here. Here's what makes us unique in the way we think about that problem we're passionate about solving. A couple of things. It's part of your DNA code of your organization. So whilst purpose is the seed of culture, values is the next component. It's also there, as we've alluded to, in terms of how we think around here. And it brings that sense of uniqueness to our business. And the last thing is, please understand that why you should have values in your organization is it acts as the guardians, the protectors of your purpose, so that we don't stray from our purpose. That's what they should be there for. They should be there to be the guardians and protectors of our purpose. So whereas we go to the very first decision-making filter, hey, does this serve our purpose, yes or no? If yes, great. Does it reject at any of our values? So where in many organizations, when people have values, Pete's just jumping on. Hey, Pete, thanks very much, man. Great topic, values. For me, values demonstrate what people do, not what they say. Yeah, 100%. Watch what people do, and they'll tell you who they are. 100%, mate. Cheers. Thanks, Pete, for tuning in on that. It's so powerful. And what Pete's alluding to there is values should tell us how to behave in our organization. So how we think determines how we act. So if we're all embodying that way of thinking, that habit of thinking for our organization, it should drive the right behaviors, which is where I'm getting to with this concept of being the protectors of. So whereas a lot of people are trying to make sure that do our values align, we look at this in a slightly different way. We'll get another here. So yeah, no problems, Zach. We'll get you a copy of the workbook for sure. I'll put the link in the comments down here after the live stream. So as the protectors, instead of saying, do my values align with yours, mine don't necessarily have to exactly align with yours for us to be able to work together. However, if my values rejected your values or your values rejected my values, then we're going to have a challenge, right? So we should be making sure, does this reject or does this thing, this decision, this people we want to work with, does it reject at any of our values? Because they're there to protect us, right? They're there to make sure we stay on the right track. So back to Pete's comment that we're actually behaving in the right way. So this is really important to understand that your values are there to guide us. So values guide in terms of not only the right behaviors, but also the right thinking. So how we think determines how we act. Values are how we think around here. And this is why we need to make sure that we have values in our organization. Now, I'm going to flip to the whiteboard in terms of very quickly just how to craft values, because I also find that people, when they're actually writing their values, you go look at any website, look at your own, I don't know. But there's values are on there, which is great. I love it. That's wonderful. I see values on every website. But when I look at the values, the statements, they're like 30 words to describe one value. And they're trying to say everything all at once. And they're trying to create a word salad. Now, please remember that your value is there to empower your team as well to make smarter decisions. So there has to be what we call practical magic. Because when some people write their values, they write these magical, fluffy statements about their values. And as we've already alluded to earlier, that there's these other commonplace, more pragmatic, just practical values that everybody has. What we look for when we're challenging people on setting up the values of your organization is that practical magic. It has to have obviously some logical content, but it has to have emotional context to it, because it is something, it's part of our DNA. It's about who we are. It's the stuff that we love, about the way we think about the problem that we solve in this world. So you want to make sure you create a value that has practical magic. So it has a sense of emotional context with logical content to it. So let's just flip over to the whiteboard just quickly here, just to show you some example. When you're crafting your value, as you can see, all right, around there. Here we go. As you can see, is you want to work out what is the thing that we value, and then you should be able to articulate it to me clearly and forcefully in 5 words or less. Not 5 random words or anything, but a sentence or statement of 5 words or less. So what is it, the thing that we value, and what does that mean? What is our meaning to that? Not what does it look like, not who does it, just what does it mean? And I'll give you some examples in a second. But it's really important to understand this. It's in 5 words or less. Can you clearly articulate the definition of that value? Because that starts to form the thinking of it. Then you notice the simple dashes I have down here. So to Pete's point earlier is, if I live that value, then what behavior would I demonstrate? So we can start to list, well, whatever that is, what are the 3, 4, or 5 behaviors that would show that we value that? Because ultimately, in the end, when you're working with your values in your organization, I should be able to walk into your organization and go, wow, you guys do all this, this, this. I see all this stuff happening. They go, well, as a matter of fact, Dave, thank you for noticing that. One of our core values is X, and that's us demonstrating that. Right? So it's what you do, but what you do comes from how you think, and we've got to get the thinking right in our organization. As the guardians and protectors of our purpose, we need to make sure that we have the right thinking that serves that purpose, but also makes us unique. So while everyone is out there, like I said, looking for their unique value proposition, I would encourage you just to find your unique values proposition for your organization, because it exists. I'll give a couple examples. Let me see if I can. I've brought up a couple of examples from a couple of clients that we have here. I'll bring them up on the screen, just so you can see what a value looks like. I'll move to the screen here. So you can see this is one of our clients here. If you look at they value approachability, a genuine desire to help. They value creativity, a willingness to explore. They value shared success. which is creating value together. These guys have something similar. It's called connectivity. These guys value dependability, which is assurance and reliability, tenacity, a relentless pursuit of excellence. And even ours, here's our values for our organization. We really value insight, which is recognize and act in advance. We value wisdom, learning from experience, caring, simplicity, clarity, a profound understanding. Right? So when we talk about things at Circle Leadership, we value simplicity, which is freedom from complexity. Okay, so everyone on our team understands what simplicity is. It's not Lisa's definition of simplicity, it's not Jordan's, it's not mine. This is Circle Leadership's definition of simplicity. Okay, so when you're going back to do those values, what is it you value? In 5 words or less, you should be able to define that value. And please, you don't need to put in who, what, where, like who you do it for and all that stuff. The other component when you're crafting your values as you get this set up for your organization is your values should apply to all stakeholders. The core values of your organization to apply to all stakeholders of your business. Yes, there's some things we might value over here and things we might value over there, but our core values are the ones that apply to everything. Every decision gets filtered through. So it's really important to remember that when you're setting up your values is value, definition, 5 words or less, and that should apply to all stakeholders. So you don't have to put, we value our team or our people and all this sort of stuff, because it should apply to all your team, all your people. It should apply to all your customers. It should apply to all your stakeholders, your suppliers, your strategic partners. Those core values should apply to everybody. So you don't need to have that written in there, because we're going to add value by removing things that don't when we're writing our values. Thanks to Aidan Parker for that saying. All right. So just to wrap up, why you should have values, and then I'll talk the last part about it. So it's your code of chivalry. It's there to protect, to be the guardians of your purpose. It is what makes you unique in the way you think about it. And when people want to buy what you do, your values are going to be why they buy it from you. It's because of you think. So if your values are the same as everybody else, then you're comparable. But when you strive to be different, you stand alone. And I guarantee you, there is a unique thinking to your business. You think about things just a little bit differently. And we want to make sure that we can bottle that thinking, that we can label it all out and go, here's what makes us unique in the way we think about that. That's our code of chivalry, if you wish, for our organization. And everyone in it needs to be drinking from the same potion. And anyone wants to come join your team needs to drink from that same potion. Because this is how we think around here. We're not saying what to think, but this is how we think around here. And we get that in place, and it's part of your DNA. Then understanding how to craft your values. Once again, what is it that we really value? What makes us unique in the way we think about it? What does that mean? How do we define that? And what behaviors would that demonstrate if we were truly leading, living, and loving that in every moment? And then the last part then is, how do we empower our team then? How do we start to use that? How do we get people mesmerized by the values instead of just memorizing them? It's great that everyone can recall them, but they need to be mesmerized by them. They need to become part of their DNA too, so it becomes part of our automatic decision-making filters in our organization. And then when you are empowering your team to make smarter decisions through the lens of the values, you become that someone who believes in your people. And as we talked about with purpose, purpose is the something to believe in. So I want to have a sense of meaning to my work, and values are then there set up so that if we can build this system of trust, if you wish, where we can trust our people, they can trust us. They can be more responsible. With that more responsibility, they can have more freedom to think. That freedom to think will allow them to be more creative. That creativity will allow them to be more innovative in the way that they think about things. And they'll know that you trust them. And they'll go, I have someone who believes in me. And people want someone who believes in them. Be the person who believes in your people. The best way to do that is to set up your system of values, your 4 to 6 core values of your business, that is the unique thinking. And then start helping your team to lead, live, and love those by doing the same thing yourself every day. That's all I want to cover today. Next week, we're going to talk a lot more about values, the different types of values. I've just given you some examples today, how to set them up, why you should have them. But next week, we're definitely going to go diving into the difference between the corporate rhetoric and the magical fluffy values that people have and what we call shit values. We're going to talk all about that next week's live. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you want the link for the values workbook that you can use for all these sessions, I'll drop it in here later. Otherwise, just put #valuesguide and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it. Until next week, thank you, Pete, Zach. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Love all the work you guys do in the world, and keep sticking to your uniqueness of who you are and speak that with love to the world, and don't ever be afraid to do that.